Love, betrayal, and murder. It's a tale as old as time, but few stories capture the raw, messy emotions of bitter divorce quite like the case of Betty Broderick. A picture-perfect housewife, a high-powered attorney, and an affair that shattered everything. But when does heartbreak turn into rage? And at what point does rage become murder? Today, we're diving into the explosive case of Betty Broderick, the woman who went from scorned ex-wife to convicted killer. Buckle up, because this one gets messy.
Some crimes are senseless, some are calculated, and some are so twisted they defy explanation. Welcome to Spousecidal Tendencies, where we unravel the darkest minds, the most chilling cases, and the crimes that haunt us long after the headlines fade. Listen close, because the truth is always more disturbing than fiction.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to the first official episode of Spousecidal Tendencies. I'm Daryl.
I'm Valerie.
I'm Jess. So I'm Kat.
So what's everybody think? Are we ready to try this new endeavor?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
All right, so I'm not good at segues.
So things are probably going to look a little different than what we had originally anticipated, but I think it's all coming together and it's going to work out.
So when we first came up with the idea for this, it was going to be just the two of us, Daryl and I, doing this together and me telling him stories. Then we decided we were going to add people in, and it's kind of evolved over the last few weeks. But this is what this is going to look like. It's going to be the four of us, and we're just going to hang out and talk true crime together.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Today, we're going to talk about Betty Broderick. Does anybody know anything about Betty Broderick?
No, personally, I know what she looks like now.
Okay. Yeah. Betty Broderick was born November 7th, 1947 in Brooklyn, New York, to Marita Curtin and Frank Bisceglia. I probably should have looked up how to say that before I...
Bisceglia.
It sounds good to me. So she was the third of six kids. Her dad owned a successful plastering business. It was like a family-owned type business. Her upbringing was like super, super strict Catholic. Her parents raised her up from like a very young age, like to be a wife, to be a mother, she was supposed to stay at home and take care of her family. And that was her sole purpose in life, be a good Catholic wife and mother. Her parents instilled it in her. You go to Catholic schools, you be careful with dating men until you find a good Catholic man who's going to be able to support you while he works. And then someday you're going to be blessed with all these grandkids, and that's your sole purpose in life. And everybody she hung out with at school, they were raised the same way because, they're all in this Catholic school. So everybody's parents had the same ideals. They're like, you're a wife and a mother and cook, clean, and take care of your babies.
It's definitely
Yeah. So she didn't get in any trouble in school. She didn't get a chance to go out and, sneak out and stuff because all her friends were, raised kind of the same way. So she went to high school at Maria Regina High School in Hartsdale, New York. It was a Catholic, college preparatory school, and then graduated from Eastchester High School in Eastchester, New York in 1965. After that, she went
my mom was born.
So she's old enough to be your grandma.
Yeah. Yep.
She attended the College of Mount St. Vincent in the Bronx, New York through an accelerated program. Graduated with a degree in early childhood education and a minor in English. So that year, in 1965, when she was in college, she was 17 years old. She met 21-year-old medical student, Dan Broderick. She was at a dance at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. Daniel Thomas Broderick was born November 22nd, 1944 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was the oldest of 9 children, and he came from a very large Irish Catholic family and had a very similar upbringing to Betty. When he met Betty at this dance, he introduced himself by writing on a napkin. He put his name. It was Daniel T. Broderick III, MDA. So Betty was like, pretty smooth.
I see you, my guy.
So Betty asked him, what does MDA stand for? And he said, medical doctor. Almost.
Impressive. Oh,
So pretty much immediately, Dan decided, like, this is the woman that I'm going to marry. Dan never once wavered from his goal of making me his wife. He would wait, he would do and say whatever was necessary, even agreeing with me when he didn't, and doing things I wanted to do when he didn't, until he had me. Nobody ever used the terms obsessive compulsive or stalker back then, but that is what he was. So they began dating. They began dating after that, and then ended up getting married April 4th of 1969 at the Immaculate Conception Church in Tuckahoe, New York. Betty's mom actually planned their entire wedding, and it was a whole situation because she was adamant that Dan wear this like specific suit, and he refused to do it, and it was a big fight, but they ended up getting through the wedding, and they got through the wedding, and then they went on their honeymoon. So they went on a Caribbean cruise, and then after that they spent some time in St. Thomas with some friends. When they came home, they were pregnant with their first child. So they moved into Dan's dorm room at his med school at Cornell, and their oldest daughter, Kim, was born in 1970.
all right. They just got right to it.
Right? Yeah. So
I'm pretty
Betty,
normal so far,
yeah. I mean, yeah.
relationship-wise.
Right. Betty felt like everything changed after they got married. She felt like when she was dating, she had her own independence. She had her own car. She had her own money. She lived with her parents, but she still had like her own freedom. But once they got married, he was very controlling. Like he oversaw everything, including all of her paychecks that she received, all of her bank accounts, and he just controlled it all. Like he told her what to do with it, and she did it. And despite her upbringing of, supposed to be just this wife that takes care of the kids and stuff at home, it just was never really for her. So she decided that, she wanted to work, and she was always like super ambitious, hardworking, worked all the way up until the day before she gave birth to her daughter as a school teacher. After the baby was born, and went ahead and he completed his medical degree, and then very shortly after decided that he wanted to go to law school. So he's like, okay, I'm going to take this medical degree, I'm going to use it, but I'm going to go to school, I'm going to be a lawyer, and then I can do these big like medical malpractice cases. So he began attending law school at Harvard in 1971. So they picked up their family and they moved to Massachusetts. Betty gave birth to their second child, a daughter named Lee, in July of 1971. So even though like she wanted to work and stuff, it was still super important to Betty to be a very involved mother and to take care of her kids in all the aspects, plus go to work. During the time that Dan was going to law school, she was the sole breadwinner of the family. She worked all these like different little jobs here and there, like taking the kids with her as she sold Tupperware door to door, babysitting kids. Yeah. Wow. So she like snowing, be carrying her baby on her hip, selling Tupperware and Avon door to door. So the early years while he was going through school, they were, it was kind of rough. They were living on, welfare, food stamps, moving in and out of apartments and dorm rooms at Dan's college. So February 1973, Dan went on a skiing trip with some friends. And while he was there, Betty went into labor with their third child. Their son, he never got a name because he died 2 days after being born. Betty wrote a memoir, and in it says that Dan was so angry at her because of her going into labor and having the baby, because she had ruined the first ski trip that he had been able to go on in years. So maybe that's like kind of the start.
What a red flag.
Yeah, now we're going to start showing
the eighth red flag.
It was just selfish of her, really.
Right. Like, how dare you? Betty was 23 at that time. That was the first time that Betty tried to take her own life. She said that she was feeling trapped and disconnected, and she was just ready to escape from everything and die. Dan ended up graduating from Harvard in 1973. And at that time, he moved his family to LA and he completed a clerkship there. They decided in 1975 that they were going to go ahead and make their move to California permanent. And he got a job at a medical malpractice attorney's office at the Gray Carey law firm in San Diego. Betty has said that once he started working there, like everything about their life revolved around this law firm. All their friends were there. All their kids' friends were associated with the law firm somehow. Her, wives and the kids. The wives were her friends. Her kids were friends with the attorney's kids. So it was just took over their entire life and started to kind of cause some stress in their relationship. In that year that he began working there, Betty had 2 abortions. After losing
control.
Right.
Is that before that time? I mean, is that a thing?
Well, no, I don't know. No. And that's part of so after she had that baby, the thought of even having another one was terrified. She was just traumatized. And Dan just absolutely refused to even discuss letting her be on birth control. So he was, well, and that's that Catholic thing, you're raised you don't do birth control. You just, whatever God gives you, that you take it,
So controlling.
And so she just did, I guess, what she felt like she had to do. So in December of 1975, they moved in the Coral Reef neighborhood in San Diego. 2 months later, in February of 1976, Betty gave birth to a son, Daniel Thomas Broderick IV, and they called him Danforth. It took me way too long to figure that out. He's Dan IV. So Betty kind of got sick and tired of their entire life being consumed by Dan's law firm that he was working at. So in 1978, she talked him into opening his own firm and starting to go into practice on his own. So almost immediately, things just completely began to turn around for them financially. Right away after opening his firm, he won his first $1 million case and they didn't stop after that. So in no time at all, they were, they went from food stamps to being millionaires. And they were the what you see on TV, with all the socialites, and they were on all these big social circles, and they were always partying and having parties and dinners at their house. They were popular in all these social circles in San Diego, and just as time went on, their lives just became more and more extravagant. And eventually Betty was able to stop working and just, enjoy the benefits of all the work that she had done to get him to where they were. They were in country clubs. They had 5 cars, including a Corvette, a boat, a ski condo, took first class trips to Europe. She would throw 200 to 300 guest parties in her home 2 to 3 times a year, dinners every weekend. The kids they would take their kids on trips and send them to summer camp. Basically all those years that they really struggled, it was really paying off. So, in 1979, Betty gave birth to their last child, another son, and his name was Rhett.
Hi. Yeah, how many kids is this?
So they have 4 living children, 2 boys and 2 girls. And then they had the one little boy that passed away. And then I don't know. So earlier I had said that she had her first 2 abortions. I don't know exactly how many pregnancies she had, but those weren't the only 2 abortions that she had.
How did Papa Catholic feel about that?
And I'm not really
Papa
sure.
Catholic.
Now that you mention, I don't really remember. Maybe he didn't know.
I would say he did.
I feel like that would be a secret.
Yeah,
definitely.
Dude, getting tired of it.
So when the kids were little, and as they were growing up, she just felt like she was a single mother. Dan wasn't really involved in anything to do with the kids. All he ever did was work. He was just
This basically was, yeah.
Yeah, and he had his own law firm. Of course, he was, he was a busy man, but 1982, Dan met a 21-year-old, Linda Kolkina. So his law firm was in one of those like big office buildings in the city, you know. I've never seen one in real life, but I've seen them on TV.
On those movies. Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have those around here.
Right. But she was a receptionist. I don't know, like at one of the other companies or something that was inside the building. Betty said that she remembered first becoming aware of Linda at a Christmas party for like a company Christmas party where Dan had referred to Linda as being beautiful. So she, you know, I think probably took mental note of that.
Yeah. It would.
Right, exactly. So a year later in 1983, Dan decides he's going to hire a personal assistant.
Oh, I wonder who that was.
Does anyone want to guess who he hired? So, yeah, he hires Linda, and Betty thinks this is crazy. Like, this woman has no degree. She has no experience, and she couldn't even type.
In law, anyway.
He's a faker.
She said, okay, something's going on here. So she went to Dan and she said, you have 30 days to fire the bitch or you're moving out and I'm done. So he told her, like, I'm not cheating on you. Like, you're crazy.
Oh yeah, they're always crazy.
So November 7th, 1983, Dan just doesn't show up for Betty's birthday. Gives no reason, just doesn't show up. She said that she was getting to the point that she just felt crazy. She couldn't handle all the lies anymore. And he was making her insane. So she tried again to take her own life. She took pills and slit her wrists that night.
Jeez.
Dan's birthday was 2 weeks later. So Betty decided to go up to his office and surprise him for his birthday. And it turns out like that Dan and Linda had already left for the day to go to a birthday celebration for Dan.
Dang.
After sitting there all day and waiting, she decided to go home and get in their closet and take out all of Dan's clothes, all of his custom tailored suits that he had acquired over the years and set them on fire in their front yard in front of children.
That's a move right there.
Okay, so their marriage kind of continued to just get worse and worse, and Betty continued to suspect that Dan was being unfaithful, and he continued to deny it.
As they do.
For 1984, their home in Coral Reef was under repair, so they decided to relocate temporarily to a rental in La Jolla Shores. I don't know if that's correct.
Sorry, what was that word?
Lajolla. La Jolla? La Jolla.
La Jolla.
Maybe. We don't know what language it is.
It's California.
Okay.
Let me out. Not let me out. Stop.
So now that they're in La Jolla.
Okay, let's start that one.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll give it to you. They were in this temporary rental. And in 1985, Dan comes to Betty and he says, I need some space. I am going to move back into the house at Coral Reef.
Of course.
And eventually, he admits to Betty that he had been having an affair with Linda for the last 3 years.
You don't say.
So I think this is probably a pretty good turning point. Like maybe like we had some foreshadowing with the burning of the suits on the lawn. But I think that is when Betty's like full petty bitch takes charge.
You mean the lawn fire wasn't a sure sign that
It's foreshadowing. Like we can
listen. We've all burned something. Come on, DJ.
Right. Like we can forgive one instance of crazy.
I've done it.
But
all of it.
Like, here we go. She said I've done all of it.
Not all of it. Listen, I haven't heard the whole story. I'm just saying I did that part.
But no, yeah.
It wasn't the dude. It was the girl
part.
The girl's shirt, not his shirt. To be fair, for the record.
So Betty decides, she's like, okay, well, you're going to leave me. You're going to leave your family and walk away from us. And you're going to leave me to be a parent by myself. You never were involved with the kids. You want to see what it's like to be on your own? Here you go. So she would take her kids over there one by one without warning and drop them off on the porch. And she'd leave.
The fun?
Yes. All right, hang on, guys. I'm sorry.
It's a bold move.
Literally, like, just drop your kid.
So she's just dropping the kids off one by one, leaving them on the porch. Dad will get home when he gets there. And, you know, like, he would not be home. She would just leave the kids. Your dad will be here when he gets here. Like, he lives here, you know, he'll be back. But,
No.
at that point, yeah, right. So,
All right.
Best of luck to you, kid.
I
All right, I'm off the ship now. She's crazy.
This has been a super devoted mother up until this point
Yeah.
that has done.
I was on her side, and now I'm like,
And then all of a sudden, like,
what the hell?
she flipped a switch. At that point, the kids are at Dan's. They're there. They're not. He's not sending them back. Like, we're not playing this game. Like, the kids are with me. In September of 1985, he files for divorce. So this has been called like the messiest, up to this point, was the messiest divorce in the history of Los Angeles. And that's saying something.
Wow.
That's where the rich people are.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is, I mean, but see, the thing here is that Dan is an attorney. So he has all these connections in the, you know, with all the different attorneys, with the judges, and he knows how to play the system. So he made it absolutely impossible for her to find an attorney, because now you're dealing with conflict of interests. And, you know, he would
Literally kind of like take a prisoner like that.
yeah, and that's exactly what it was. He would like offer to pay for her attorney and then just not do it, and then she would end up having to fire an attorney that she hired because she didn't have the money. And it was just like this whole process. Like, he used every little thing of like legalese that he was able to use to make this as miserable as possible for her. She just, I don't know. I don't even know, like, if it was immediate, but just this crazy switch flips, and she's sneaking into his house, and she's breaking things. She's making a mess, you know. She went in, and it was Dan's birthday, and there was a Boston cream pie there on the counter because Linda had made it for him for his birthday. And she, you know, she asked the kids, "Oh, who made this?" Well, she knows who made this, you know. She takes it to his bedroom, and she smears this entire Boston cream pie all over his bed. Just yeah, like she's like, you know, he took everything. He took the house. He took the kids. He had all the money. I supported him. I took care of our entire family. I worked my ass off so that he could get this degree, and I have nothing.
And he cheated on her.
And he cheated on
Like a
her.
scumbag.
Super young, hot girl after she has
Linda.
given him 4 children and, you know, been pregnant how many times against her will. And I mean, I kind of get like why,
I get it.
you know, threw bottles of wine out the window, smashed mirrors and holes in the wall, spray painted on the walls, the curtains, like.
I mean, we're just talking about property damage here so far. So, like, I'm feeling like justified.
Like, I can still.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't know when to quit. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
Dan actually got a court order that was to keep Betty out of their house. Or out of his house, I guess, at this point. Right. She said, there is no court order is going to keep me out of that house. So she continued going in. She continued doing these things. And she admitted, like, a lot of the times it was in front of her kids. She had no problem dragging the kids into things. She would yell and scream at them and tell them how awful that their father was and talk, you know, about Linda. And the kids would, you know, they'd get upset, obviously. And they try to tell her, like, Mom, chill. You know,
Cross the line, you know, don't involve the kids.
Yeah, she'd call and leave these like angry, just screaming, cussing, name calling messages on the answering machine at the house. Call the kids when she wasn't there, talk to them, just say all, you know, all these hateful things. And they had some recordings actually of some of these phone calls. There was one with Danny. He was 11 at the time. he was begging his mom to just stop using bad words. He said, all you care about is money. That she wanted everything. She wanted the house, she wanted the car, she wanted the kids and the money, and for Linda to be gone, and that was never going to happen. That she had been angry long enough and it was time to move on. And she told him, no, I haven't.
That's a child telling his mother that. Sad.
An 11-year-old little boy trying to explain his mom. She told the kid, she's like, I'm never going to be able to change because I hate your daddy. She'd call Linda a bitch. Danny told her, he said, like, if you actually cared about our family, then you would stop using these bad words. She said, your dad's scum. He's cheated. He's lied. He's fucked around. You have no reason to be mad at me. I didn't cause any of this. It's all your dad and this bitch. And he says, Mom, like, we want to be able to live with you, but you're making it really hard. Yeah. And you may not care because, like, I feel like all you care about is the money. But she ended up telling him that she wished that his daddy would just die and that Linda would get drunk and drive her car off a cliff.
Damn.
Oh my. That is.
Yeah.
Dramatic.
At one point, she told her daughter, she said, I'm going to kill this son of a bitch. I'm going to shoot him in the head. She said that the world would be a better place and that everyone would thank her. Him told her, she said, yeah, sure, Mom, do that and go ahead and spend the rest of your life in jail. She said that she would never go to jail. No one would believe what had happened to her. So I feel like she thought, she could kill him, and she's kind of justified in it because of everything that he had put her through. She just felt like she was losing everything in her life all at once, and she was feeling desperate, angry, just stewing over the fact, I took care of this man and he just left me and took everything from him. But their divorce drug out over the next 5 years. Just the entire legal community in San Diego stood behind Dan getting custody of the kids, taking all the assets, all their shared assets. He knew like all this, like I said earlier, legalese. I don't know if you've heard, but it's just like basically ways of just like twisting the system or saying things in just the perfect way to, and just put her through hell for 5 years. He was paying her a spousal support check of $9,000 every month.
That's a lot of money at that time too.
Yeah, but
I don't know what it is now.
I mean, that should give you some sort of an idea of how they were living. But you think they're living in mansions, they're having parties, they've got the condo, right. But now she has to go from having no job to completely supporting herself, having an entire, like, paying all her bills, and but that should give you an idea, like, how much money they actually had if $9,000 a month was not really fair for her. So, but yeah, all the legal manipulation they were using, it just kind of started to make her feel powerless. So she just continued acting out. At one point, drove her car into the front door of his house.
Cassie moved.
So, so this check that he sends her of $9,000 a month, he does his little magic law voodoo and implements a fine system. So now he's deducting money from her monthly payment anytime she broke the restraining order in any way. $100 anytime she said an obscene word. Obscene. Anytime she said, like, she cussed at all, it was $100.
Yeah. You ran to my front door, $100.
No. Give it, look, $250 every time she stepped foot on his property, $500 every time she came into the house, $1,000 anytime she took one of the children without permission. At one point, she owed him $1,300.
It's like a psychopathic fucking scavenger hunt bingo game where nobody wins.
Good point. Like, it turns into a game for her. Like, she was really
She's like, see how much I can rack up.
Okay, so, see, we haven't even got to the door yet because I forgot this. So February 86, they sell their house, the one in Coral Reef.
That's the one that he's living in?
Yes, the one
This
that they
woman.
lived in as a family. Yes. So she fights him tooth and nail on this. She does not want to sell this house. And he does what he does, and he's able to sell it out from under her. So he buys this big mansion in the Balboa Park neighborhood with Linda.
Oh,
So this is when Betty is pissed.
Yeah,
That's when she drives her car into the front door.
Hell yeah, brother.
So she's out here in the car, has just ran into the house. Dan's pissed and runs out of the house and pulls Betty out of the car. And as he does, she has a butcher knife in her hand. Like, she is ready. So basically, like, he wrestles it away from her. And then being as, like, at this point, their divorce is not finalized yet. So he's still her husband and is able to get her locked up in a mental health facility for 3 days.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I mean, honestly,
Thing.
it kind of sounds like she
It's like maybe that she needs a timeout though.
Right. Like, let's just
She needed a crazy timeout.
Had a night
right.
and ramming people with the car and stuff.
So when she
Take a
went
weekend.
Reflection, self-reflection. Try a week, see how it goes.
when this whole ordeal happened, Betty's parents were actually in town visiting her from New York. You remember these like Catholic people who are used to this like calm, gentle life couldn't really handle it. So when they found out,
Here, folks.
right? So
They're like, what happened?
When their daughter got put in the hospital, they decided to get on a plane to New York, and they never came.
Wow, they just gave up. They were like, nah, actually.
So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear at this time, like, and other people were like looking at this situation, he's doing this on purpose. He's dragging things out because he wants to push her, especially after he realizes, okay, this bitch is not stable. Like, it's not gonna take much. So, yeah, he'd push her and egg on the behavior that came from, you know, pushing her past her limit there, and just do whatever he could to make her look like this crazy person. The divorce was finally finalized in January of 1989. She had lost custody of her children. The settlement was less than she expected, but she got a cash award of $28,000 and then $16,000 a month in spousal support. So 3 months later, which is April of 1989, and if you remember, Dan and Betty were married in April. So 10 days after what would have been their 20th wedding anniversary, Dan married Linda in a ceremony on the front lawn at their home in Balboa Park.
Well, man.
Tell me he didn't do that on purpose.
100% did that.
Sure. Like, just petty. So there had been like lots of, you know, Betty had been for years now threatening Dan's life. So they felt like this is a perfect opportunity at our wedding for her to show up and shoot up the place or whatever, you know.
Fairy style.
Yeah.
Lose it on everybody.
She had left a message actually on their answering machine, like right before their wedding. And she said, you're making me mad. I'll kill you. It just, Linda's like, please, like, wear a bulletproof vest at the wedding because she's going to show up. She's going to shoot you. So he refused to wear a bulletproof vest, but he did end up hiring some security guards for the event. And it seems like maybe, you know, Linda wasn't so wrong in thinking, you know, that they should take some extra precautions, because a month prior to their wedding, Betty had went and bought a Smith & Wesson revolver. She had said that she needed it for protection because now she was a single woman living on her own and she had never done that before. So she started taking shooting lessons, and like anybody who knew her would tell you, like, she always had that gun on her, like at all times. So on November 4th, 1989, Betty gets a letter from Dan And it's basically threatening to take Betty back to court to prevent her from seeing her boys because like her daughters were adults at this point. So I think this was kind of just like a final straw for her. And she's like, we're supposed to be done with all this legal BS. And here we go again. So in the early morning hours of November 5th, Betty let herself into Dan and Linda's home with a key that she had actually stolen from her daughter's purse.
Well,
She went upstairs.
She's not on meth. That's not what she's not on drugs like this whole time.
I don't think she's on drugs. I think that maybe she should have been medicated.
This is like crackhead behavior. She's wild. Like, this is wild for the time period.
Yeah, like you're thinking of this like socialite up in the city, and she's acting like
wild.
Yeah. So she goes upstairs to their bedroom, to Dan and Linda's bedroom, and opens their bedroom door, and Linda like jolted awake and screams, "Call 911." And Betty fired the gun 5 times. She hit Linda twice, once in the head and once in her chest. She was killed her immediately. Dan got hit once in his chest, and then one bullet hit the wall and the other a nightstand. There was a phone next to the bed on the wall, and Dan went to reach for it, and Betty ripped it out of the wall and threw it into the hallway. So she just kind of left him there to bleed to death. And his last words were, "You did it. You shot me. I'm dead." So she left the house and immediately calls Lee, her daughter, and her daughter's boyfriend, and told them that she may have shot Dan and Linda. Yes. Okay, so Betty goes over to Lee's house and sits down, and she's like talking with Lee and the boyfriend, and she basically is just telling him like, it was dark. I definitely fired the gun, but I don't know if I hit anyone. Like she knows she hit them.
You hit the one.
Yes. I think that's maybe like her starting to set up her story, like it was an accident. But she did go ahead and take her to the police station and turned herself in. Like, she never once denied that she killed them.
Right.
She did plead not guilty to murder. She stated that she had been the victim of mental, emotional, financial, and physical abuse for years. But her kids have said that they never saw their dad physically abuse their mother.
Yeah, but I mean, mental abuse is the thing, though.
Yes, absolutely. And they're not denying that he emotionally or financially abused her.
Yeah.
But they're just saying that they never saw him lay hands on her. So she said that she went over there that morning. She never had any intention of shooting or killing anyone. She wanted to have just a conversation with Dan. Kindly ask what you right. But like I said, everyone said that she always had the gun on her. So
that's true.
But, I don't know. I don't think, even now that California is very gun friendly. So even that, I don't know that she was carrying legally, but she just wanted to tell him, hey, stop. Stop threatening to throw me in jail. Stop threatening to keep my children from me. And she said that she did have the gun because she wanted to scare them, to make them listen, and to keep them from calling the police. She claims that, when she opened the door and Linda screamed, it scared her.
So, in that case, you're, already holding the gun, though, and you're ready to shoot it. If that scares you, but shoot the gun, then...
Scare them, right? But yeah, so she panicked, and accidentally fired the gun.
He's a terrible liar.
Well, then at one point she says that after killing both of them, that she wanted to kill herself, but realized that she had, unfortunately, ran out of bullets. She said that, it wasn't fair, that there was no protection for people against these kind of situations, that the legal tricks and all this stuff that her husband had put her through in the divorce, it shouldn't be illegal. And I don't think she's wrong in that. I think that there should be ways to, keep that kind of thing from happening. But she said basically her husband had, he was killing her. He was having an affair with, his assistant. He was taking everything she had ever had, everything that she had worked for. So it's basically like she let him continue to kill her or she was going to kill him. She went to trial in 1990 for the first time. And it was declared a mistrial. The jurors were having a hard time deciding whether or not this was premeditated.
I mean, I feel like it was.
But it's also, you feel like it was, but
yeah, because
you say
gun in her
with
hand. She
no
went
doubt
with a gun in her hand.
Yes.
What else are you
But
gonna not talk?
everybody said that she always had a gun on her, so it could have been perfectly
In her hand.
And then she gave the reason. She wanted to scare them. She didn't want them to call the police. You know, so it's hard because it has to be beyond any reasonable doubt. If there's any way that you can doubt that she planned to do this, you can't
charge her. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't she say she was going to kill him though multiple times? Yeah. Yeah. She threatened to kill him how many times?
She did.
And then what'd she do? She killed him.
Also, I don't know how that works. Is that hearsay? Do you have proof?
I mean, I don't know. I don't.
I don't know. Did they get that on the voicemail or the answering machine?
Yeah. I feel like that's more than a reasonable doubt because she's like already threatened it.
Yeah. Well,
as a juror, I would be like,
yeah, but just one person isn't on the same page as you, and that's it.
Literally.
It has to be exactly in the same way. So 1991, when Betty was 44 years old, she was found guilty on 2 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 32 years to life in prison. So Betty was incarcerated at the California Institute for Women, CIW, where she remains today. She had her first parole hearing in 2010, where she was denied release. The Board of Prison Terms Commissioner Robert Doyle said during her appeal, "Your heart is still bitter and you're still angry. You show no significant progress in evolving. You're still back 20 years ago in the same mode." So she's like, yeah, I killed him. I'd do it again.
She's still alive.
I feel like
she can't get mad at her for still being mad. Still gonna do it again. He's already dead.
Yeah, like right. Like this was a targeted thing, but
yeah, like let her out.
The other way of looking at it, though, is if she was capable of killing him, is she gonna kill the next person that pisses her off? You know.
I mean,
oh, for sure.
If you're capable of murder, oh, for sure.
I feel like this case though was very more deep rooted and personal.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like he
like she would
fucked
for
with
sure
her
kill him
for a long time.
She would
and fuck with her kids stuff, and it's different. I don't know.
She would probably bring him back to kill him again.
Yes.
Would you do it? Is that what that was?
No comment, man. Right?
Yeah. Don't say anything.
No.
Okay. She went up for parole again in 2017. Again, she was denied. Richard Sachs, who is the deputy district attorney hearing her case, said that Betty was an unrepentant woman. So in 7 more years, she did not learn.
I feel that so hard, like unapologetic, hinged, and unbothered.
In a 2019 Reels interview, Betty called herself a political prisoner. She claims that she's met all of her criteria for parole, and her release date was supposed to be 2010. But she thinks that they have no reason to continue to deny her. She doesn't go up for parole again until 2032, and at that time she will be 84 years old.
84 years old. There you go.
No, she's not.
She's like, I'm sorry.
So Betty has asked her daughter Kim several times to write a letter to the parole board, basically asking for her mother to be released. Her daughter basically says, nope, I'm not doing it. I will come visit you, but
you get what you get and you don't throw a fit down like you killed my dad. So,
yeah, you're where you need to be. She said, though, that her mom being incarcerated has been the second biggest heartbreak of her life.
Yeah.
Obviously,
the first was dad's murder. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But then you lost both your parents, technically, so sad as hell.
Exactly. So Daniel also does not support his mom being released. He thinks that she shows no remorse and that after 30 years, she's still justifying what she did. And to me, I feel like there's got to be some sort of screw loose there, because at what point does your like sense of self-preservation kick in and you're like, get me out of here, I will learn to lie.
Right, like at least learn to like get yourself out. Even
I'm sorry, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Nobody is acknowledging the fact that she was being like held mentally prisoner, basically, and being abused.
Right.
Nobody's even like. But also, is it worth getting out at 85 or whatever? Do you have to have? I don't know if you guys know this or not, but do you have to have like family members whenever you're up for parole, or like some kind of like what it would be called, like a witness, like something
like a character witness?
Like still denying it, and that's obviously maybe the children.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I didn't see if her daughter like wrote, what would that be? Like the opposite of a recommendation,
like a statement of some kind.
Yeah, like saying that they don't think, you know,
suggestion.
Yeah,
suggestion
letter
where she's at.
Right. I think, you know, she needs to be exactly where she is. I don't know if she did that or if she just didn't speak for her mother, but yeah. So the older two kids are, you know, or I guess it's not the older two kids. It's the oldest daughter, the oldest son. And then the youngest daughter, the youngest son are kind of on the other side of the fence about it. They think that like she's old. She's getting to the end of her life. She should be able to live out the rest of her life outside of prison. Lee and her dad were not in a great place before her dad died. So, I mean, and okay, maybe how do I say this? Like, am I allowed to give my opinion? And I don't want it to be she took the key out of the daughter's purse.
Lee's purse?
Yes. So I wonder, I'm pretty sure it was Lee's purse. Like, I guess maybe I shouldn't say that for sure, but I think that because like that was the daughter that she was closest with. And I don't know, it makes you wonder if.
Because they would have probably been around each other at some point.
Yeah. And shortly before he had died, and had revised his will and removed Lee from inheriting any money or belongings. I mean, I hope not, you know, but
right.
They were in cahoots.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we can't say that for sure.
I don't know, but I'm just guessing.
Right. So, and I heard that it was because like Lee was maybe having some substance abuse issues at the time. So they were into it over that. And so he kind of cut her off, and I don't know, kind of makes you wonder a little bit.
How mysterious.
But that is the story of Betty Broderick. There is I think it's on Netflix, if I remember correctly, but it's called, and that I think you saw it when you were Googling Dirty John. There's like 2 seasons of it, and the first season is about a different story completely, and then the second season is about Betty Broderick. The second season of that show is about Betty Broderick and this story, and it's got I can't even remember her name. Amanda Peet do you know who that is? She plays Betty. And then it's Christian Slater is that his name? Christian Slater is the other is Dan. But from what my understanding, from what I've heard about it, and I did watch it, but I heard that it is very accurate. Like there's, you know, usually with these, there's a lot of like dramatizing and building it up for.
Yeah.
But I don't think they needed to do that in this case.
Yeah.
No.
It's pretty crazy, but I heard that it's
don't need to fabricate.
Pretty accurate. Yeah, but it's kind of cool to like watch it. I don't know, to see it play out, because I think it's several episodes. It's just, I guess it's a season. It might be 10 episodes or something, but I watched it sneak in between because I didn't want DJ to catch me and have the story spoiled for him. So.
Oh, you and your trickery.
But if you guys want to.
Well, he seems so surprised so far by this.
Yeah. But that's it. She's in prison, not up for parole again for another, 7 years from now. Been in there since 1991.
Only 7 years from now, 2032. That's when my youngest graduates.
That is crazy.
It's freaking weird to say that. Well,
so she's got 7 more years to practice saying I'm sorry.
She's never gonna do it. She's not sorry.
She's not. No, she ain't gonna do it. I don't think she is.
I'm sorry.
And then are they gonna really believe her at that point? They're like,
Yeah.
But you stood
Well,
10 toes down for
Yeah.
30 years, and now you're gonna,
The boy who cried wolf.
You're not gonna bring it back.
He just needs to play like, I found Jesus and now I'm really sorry card. And that'll be probably the only thing that saves her.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Do you think she was justice served, or do you think she should have got let off? Because
No, I think she
Kinda-
needs to stay in there. I think exactly that she would probably do something crazy again, it sounds like. She's got the crazy bone. Got the crazy eye.
Yeah,
It just kept escalating, I get that she was being pushed, but like at some point, that's in you.
yeah, and I do believe people could be like rehabilitated. She ain't one of them.
I don't think so. No, yeah, because also she's not sorry, so it's like that's still in there. Yeah, that's the biggest part of she's never gotten really through whatever steps you're supposed to go
Step
through or whatever.
recovery is admitting you have a problem.
Yep, we're not there yet. I don't think we're gonna get there.
No, I wonder if she has friends.
She likes prison. I mean,
No, yeah, like does she have friends in prison? Which she
it's like, how do you go from living this extravagant life to living in prison and sharing a toilet? I don't know. It's
that's crazy. That'd be
can't be a good time for her. Yeah.
Sitting where you brush your teeth, I mean, like.
I think she likes prison a lot.
Like, the toilet and stuff, it's fucking.
Then she liked what?
And do you think it's real weird that she liked prison?
I think she's perfectly content with where she's at for,
I'm sure she's quite popular. She's probably got multiple personalities that go on with literally everyone.
All right, guys. That's it for this episode. Come back next week, and it sounds like it's going to be a good one. So we'll see you then. Bye.
Don't forget to follow us on our socials.
Yeah, dude.
Get on there and rate us on wherever you're listening to us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Next week on Spousecidal Tendencies, a young woman embarks on a solo road trip across the country, documenting her journey as she goes. Then she vanishes. Her car is found, abandoned in the Arizona desert. Her belongings scattered, and a series of cryptic messages leave more questions than answers. Join us next week as we dig into the baffling disappearance of Chelsea Grimm.